Welcome to Crypto OGs.
Welcome to Crypto OGs. We are here in Istanbul 2023 Binance Blockchain Week, and we have a legend, Mr. Yat Siu from Animoca Brands. How are you guys?
Very good. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. Incredible energy, and Istanbul is a beautiful city.
So, founder and CEO of Animoca Brands. People know you. You are very influential in Web3, but there is a story to tell everybody that probably nobody knows. Like, who are Yat Siu? Where are you from? I heard that you know how to play the cello.
Yes, so I play, as a child, I used to play the piano, flute, and cello. I grew up in Vienna, in Austria, and my parents were musicians, so I was forced to study music because, that's what Asian parents do. But by growing up in Vienna, I also studied at, music there for, most of my young adult life, shall we say. Yeah.
Okay. Tell us, how was your life before? I know you come from the technological background. You have built so many companies with massive communities, a lot of users. But how was your life before Web3 and crypto? What you used to do?
Well, we used to make video games.
Video games?
Yeah, with Animoca originally, before it became Animoca Brands, we had some of the biggest mobile games in the world, with Pretty Pet Salon and Stargirl, for instance. And we had, I think, up to 40 or 50 million users that we basically sort of amassed in the early days of mobile. And of course, my first job, actually back in the 80s, so now I'm totally dating myself, was with Atari.
Atari?
Yeah, with Atari.
Okay.
The original, well, not the original Atari, but the Atari after, which basically had, I was making, multimedia stuff, and we're also doing gaming-related stuff. So I had a long history of gaming, and then that's why, when we sort of stumbled onto CryptoKitties, which our studio helped build, that's kind of where it really clicked to us in terms of what Web3 could do and what digital property rights meant. But I think if we weren't doing video games before, maybe we wouldn't even have stumbled into the whole NFT space.
Amazing. I'm talking about video games. Very quick question. What is your favorite video game? As a player.
I mean, there's so many video games.
Like Super Mario Bros.
I love so many games, but I would say maybe the game that I had the most, let's call it romantic attachment, in the sense that that's where I spent the most hours as a child, is a game called Karateka.
Okay.
It's an arcade game. I played Pong, I played those ones, but that was a game where I really, really became an expert in, and maybe I was 10 or 11 or 12, I don't remember. And then the very first online game that I really, really spent a lot of time was called Perilous Realms, which is a multi-user dungeon, which is a text-based MMO.
Okay.
So literally, when you play the game, we're talking 1989, 1990.
Okay.
The way you play the game, it's text. So you have to type, go left, go right. Yeah. And then you meet a person and they talk, another player. That was games back then. Everything was in our head. The imagination was there. That was the early days of online games.
That was good. My favorite one is Street Fighter.
Of course, Street Fighter. Street Fighter, this is sort of the age of, the consoles and so on. I love to play Street Fighter as well. And then later on you had Tekken on Sega Saturn, right? And then you had, Mortal Kombat, of course, those ones. And actually, now come to think of it, one of the big Web3 games that we put out is Rec League, which is basically Street Fighter, but just with Web3 and ownership of assets.
So, how was that transition like? Because you were already very influential and successful video gaming with Animoca, but how was the transition when you decided to go all into crypto and Web3? Like, what your colleagues say, what everybody around you say, like family, what was their thoughts when you say, okay, I'm going all into crypto?
Well, my family was very supportive. Particularly my oldest son is in crypto anyway.
Oh.
So at the time he was like, fine, right? But I think everyone else in the business around was a little bit like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Because they didn't really understand it. And remember, this was 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
So this was just when the ICO hype was dying.
Yeah, and
it was the opposite. It wasn't like when it was growing, it was dying. And so everyone was running away from fungible tokens. And so here we are talking about non-fungible tokens. Non-fungible, which trades less and is new, and what's the value, right? And so everyone ran for the hills. So it was tough, but we really believed in it. And obviously it allowed us to do things like Sandbox and Axie Infinity and Decentraland and Dapper Labs and all the companies that you've heard of today.
And let's talk now about Animoca. Like, what was the best experience that you have as a CEO and founder that made you feel proud of your brand?
I I don't know that I had a single best experience because I think it's constantly evolving. But I would say the one thing that we're generally proud of, not just a single experience but broadly, is the impact that we think we're making when people say, hey, I joined Web3, I understood what Web3 was about because of you, or because of Animoca Brands, because of digital property rights. A lot of people think, why they don't like Web3 is because they look at tokens and they think of money and financial systems and maybe scams and so on. They don't understand at the time that it's actually about owning your digital identity, owning your digital property. And ownership is such a key component of it. And that was something that we really sort of dug into, and we tried to explain to the world, you can make money if you want to, but the real value is owning your virtual time. Time is data, and data is value, right? And so that's something that we have to sort of have a paradigm around. And I think for a lot of people, like the TED Talk as well, it gave them this idea that it's something bigger, something more meaningful. So I would say that's probably, one of the things that we're very happy about, because the narrative around crypto, particularly in the early days, was too much about money, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's not wrong, right? Capitalism is important, but it's distasteful as well. And also, people don't understand why, right? Like, for instance, a good capitalist framework works because of property rights.
Yes.
It's not just about money.
Yeah.
But people sometimes forget that, and so we have to constantly educate.
And now, talking about education and creating impact in the world, we're in Istanbul, Binance Blockchain Week. It's been an amazing experience. Tell us about your experience with the whole ecosystem of Web3, but especially here in Binance, because we have our channels on Binance Live, so there's a lot of Binance that admire you, but tell us how it's been that relationship. What is the best that you
basically announced a partnership with us and made an investment, but it's Saudi, and of course we know that Saudi.
That's amazing. I didn't know. That's amazing.
Yeah, and thank you. And Saudi is the biggest economic force here in the Middle East. However, it doesn't have that many people that know about Web3 yet, right?
Yeah.
So it's beginning, and many people in Turkey do know about Web3, and so there's an opportunity to sort of help expand and spread the message and sort of grow the market. That's one thing. And then we talk about education. Well, we're here at Open Campus, right? And what is Open Campus? Open Campus is about empowering teachers, which are creators, to basically make fair income through NFTs, and students who are already paying them as a way to create capital formation for the assets of these NFTs, and an entire token infrastructure that can basically support learning and Web3 sort of learning and education in Web3. And one thing why we focus on education and why I think Binance is a good platform for that is, we talk about gaming, which is really big. It's a $200 billion industry, but education is a $5 trillion industry.
Oh, wow.
Right? And everything you do actually is education. Most people don't realize that the biggest education platform is YouTube. It is, right? And so, however, all the time that people make education content on YouTube, do they get paid for it?
No.
Do they get value for it?
No.
They get nothing. Even these videos that we're making right now that have value, actually
the content creator, maybe NFT artist, what would that piece of advice for somebody that's looking to do the jump that me and you did?
So, first thing I would say, you have to enter Web3. You can't learn about Web3 if you're not in it. And the parallel I give is a little bit like China.
Okay.
Right? Like 30 years ago, 20 years ago, a lot of people in the West were like, China, the growth is not real, I don't understand it, it's impossible, right? But then when they visited China, they go, oh my goodness,
It's amazing.
It's great, like there's so much potential. But they had to make a small investment. And the investment, by the way, isn't that you have to buy real estate or do something. The investment was visit China. You buy the air ticket, stay in a hotel, you learn the culture, you have the food, you just hang out, right? You have to do the same in Web3. But in Web3, that doesn't mean you just go in and check it out. You have to also buy your air ticket. You also have to stay in a hotel. What is that? Maybe you buy a cheap NFT. Maybe you join the Discord channel. Maybe you talk to the community. Maybe you have a little bit of tokens. Not much. Just play around. Just learn about the space. And to me, that's the ticket. Once you enter in that way and you embrace the community, you'll learn that actually they're very friendly. They embrace you. I mean, that's, the people who are not in Bored Apes are like, that's impossible. I don't like this. Or people who are not in Sandbox is like, why would you do that? But everyone inside Sandbox and everyone inside Bored Apes is like, this is the best thing ever, right? And that's what I'm saying is you have to enter the space. You have to, you can be a tourist first, but every tourist enters a place through a small kind of investment in the culture.
Thank you so much. And this is a very random question. Who is your favorite musician of all time?
Oh my goodness! I don't think I have a favorite musician of all times, but I did grow up in Vienna, and so I would say I have a classical slant. I do like popular music, but if I had to pick the top 3, then they are classical because of my training and because much of our basis of modern understanding of music comes from the classics, right? So obviously I'm biased. Grew up in Austria, so Mozart is one of them, right? I am a fan of Mahler. And also Tchaikovsky.
Amazing. The last question, do you have this scarf?
I do not.
Okay, let me give you a present now.
Thank you so much.
I don't know how I'm going to take it off.
Okay, yes.
Where are you traveling next?
I'll be going back to Hong Kong.
Okay, is it cold now?
It'll get colder.
So this is for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
From the whole team of Binance. Thank you so much for coming to Crypto G, and you're officially a certified Crypto G.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And I'll see you in the next episode, guys. Bye-bye.